U.S. sends 2 B-52 bombers because Navy under attack in Persian Gulf. The Pentagon has decided to send home the only Navy aircraft carrier operating in the Middle East, a move that would reduce U.S. firepower in the region amid heightened tensions with Iran. The Nimitz was operating just off the coast of Somalia and was in the midst of a 10-month deployment when the Defense Department announced that it would be returning to homeport. The move comes just 2 days after the U.S. flew strategic bombers over Iran as a show of force and a week after Trump warned its government that it would be held responsible for attacks targeting Americans in Iraq. Our embassy in Baghdad got hit Sunday by several rockets. 3 rockets failed to launch, Trump tweeted from aboard Air Force One on December. Guess where they were from? Iran. Now we hear chatter of additional attacks against Americans in Iraq. Some friendly health advice to Iran: if one American is killed. The decision to send the Nimitz home, announced Thursday by Acting Secretary of Defense Miller, came 1 day after Air Force B-52 bombers flew non-stop from the United States to the Persian Gulf in a show of force that military officials said was intended to caution Iran against carrying out attacks against U.S. forces or interests. Sending the Nimitz home to the U.S. West Coast would seem at odds with the idea that a show of force is needed to deter Iran. This might reflect a split within the defense establishment on whether Iran poses a heightened threat to strike in the waning days of the Trump administration. In announcing the decision to send the Nimitz home, Miller made no mention of Iran. Earlier this week, an American military officer close to the situation told reporters that the U.S. had detected signs that Iran had made preparations for possible attacks on U.S. or allied targets in Iraq or elsewhere in the Mideast. This was the reason for dispatching 2 B-52 bombers from the U.S. to briefly overfly the Gulf on Wednesday, said the officer, who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss internal assessments. The United States also has picked up signs that Iran may be considering or planning more complex and broader attacks against American targets or interests in the Middle East, the senior U.S. military officer said. Adding that it represented the most concerning signs since the days immediately following the Soleimani killing. The officer cited indications that advanced weaponry has been flowing from Iran into Iraq recently and that Shiite militia leaders in Iraq may have met with officers of Iran's Quds Force, previously commanded by Soleimani. The officer cited indications that advanced weaponry has been flowing from Iran into Iraq recently and that Shia militia leaders in Iraq may have met with officers of Iran's Quds Force, previously commanded by Soleimani. President Donald Trump recently cited chatter that Iran might strike. Days after a December 20 rocket attack on the U.S. Embassy compound in Baghdad by Iranian-supported Shiite militia groups, Trump tweeted that Iran was on notice. Iran initially retaliated with a ballistic missile strike on a military base in neighboring Iraq that caused dozens of brain concussion injuries but no deaths among U.S. troops. Because of the potential for escalation that could lead to a wider war, the U.S. has sought to deter Iran from additional attacks. The U.S. has maintained a near-continuous aircraft carrier presence in the Persian Gulf region since the USS Abraham Lincoln was sent in May 2019 amid concerns that Iran was considering attacking U.S. interests in the region. The U.S. also sent additional land-based attack planes and re-established a troop presence in Saudi Arabia. The Nimitz deployed from the U.S. in April and was due to return before the end of the year. In early December, its planned return was postponed, in part out of concerns about potential Iranian threats, and more recently it was ordered to provide support off the coast of Somalia for the movement of American forces out of the country.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe for our channel.